a crucial lesson of overwhelming importance that came through in this report is that while there are large forces, globalization, technology, and more, that are creating large challenges for many workers, there is no excuse or intellectual basis for fatalism. There are countries, Canada and Australia stand out as two examples, that live in the same world of globalization and technology that we in the United States do, and that have succeeded over the last 15 years in generating rising standards of living through these turbulent years for middle-class families. We stress in the report that rising incomes for the middle class require two things. They require economies that are growing strongly with a sound foundation for sustained growth. And what has become increasingly clear in recent years is that while strong growth is necessary, it is not sufficient unless the mechanisms are in place that assure that the fruits of that prosperity are widely shared. And we note in particular the divergence in many countries, including the United States, between the fortunes of the bottom 90% of the population and the fortunes of the top 1%.
Is that the challenges our democracies face are not, I think, primarily military or philosophical. It's rather that for the first time since the Great Depression, many of our industrial democracies are failing to deliver rising living standards and opportunities to all our citizens. In the United States, we have a particular challenge because we have, on the one hand, staged a remarkable recovery from a disastrous economic circumstance, but we have a last piece of the job to get done, which is to restore living standards. And I think this economic problem can become a political problem for our political systems and for democracy itself. I think all of our citizens value their freedom, value the right of self-government, but they count on the political systems to create circumstances in which they can use their talents and their labor to provide decent standards of life for themselves and to have their children have an opportunity to rise. And when democracies and market systems fail to do this, they create political alienation and the kind of distemper and disaffection and anger that Ed referred to. I think it's worth remembering that back in the 1930s, there were a lot of people who said, a disturbing number of people who said that the democracies were no longer capable of dealing with their problems, that they had created a sclerotic system. Now, thank God all of those predictions were wrong in the 1930s, but we have to make sure they are wrong again by ensuring shared prosperity.
Well, I'm very proud to say that there's few countries that have done as good a job of matching strong growth with social equity as Australia. And that was particularly the case during the Great Recession as well. But essentially we've done that for over 100 years. Better sometimes, not as good other times. But what's that based on? In the last 30 years, a whole set of productivity enhancing reforms which were underpinned by 3 or 4 key policy areas that have delivered justice and equity. First of all, a really strong industrial relations system based on a decent minimum wage, decent minimum conditions, and collective bargaining over and above that based on productivity. That's been critical in delivering strong income gains amongst low and middle income earners. And really, it's a very simple concept that's based on, that is the dignity of labour, that we're all wealth generators. As Mary Kay said before, everyone out there who is working in any form is a wealth generator. We don't have a society that should be divided between the so-called lifters and leaners that Ayn Rand talks about, and on which so much economic policy from parts of the community is based. Secondly, a fundamental commitment to affordable and quality health and education, because that provides the human capital you need to lift your productivity, but also to have an optimistic and content society. And I guess thirdly, a progressive tax system. That's very important to fund the quality services which deliver the productivity and the peace of mind for people wherever they are. And of course, a highly targeted transfer payment system which delivers for those that are left behind. So they're the fundamentals of the Australian experience.